Hi, my name is Arlette Lugo, and today for my community assignment, I'm going to be talking about vegan nutrition. I'm going to be presenting this presentation on a slide so that the audience can try to see my PowerPoints, even though that they may be backwards. I will be reading all the bullet points as cited and some additional information that goes with it. So, a lot of question that sparks up this conversation is what exactly is veganism? So veganism is the practice of abstaining from the use of animal products, particularly in diet, and is an associated philosophy that rejects the commodity status of animals. Vegans do not consume animal products such as meat, dairy, fish, eggs, or poultry, and even honey. Vegans do not purchase byproducts such as shampoos, makeup, clothes, and anything else that is not considered cruelty-free, even in some cases palm oil. This diet includes whole grains, fruits, vegetables, legumes, soy, and beans. So I would ask, how many people know others that are vegan? And most of the time, the answer is very little to none. And I think it is important to talk about a lifestyle that is actually very beneficial for people who want to improve their health, both mentally and physically. So today I'm going to be talking about vegan nutrition and how the people can thrive and live a healthy lifestyle while still enjoying their favorite plates and culture food on a plant-based diet. Okay, so I'm going to be talking mainly about the benefits of having a vegan lifestyle and how these benefits can inspire you to maybe try this out for yourself or inspire you to help others to try it out that can. Here are some benefits. 1 for your health, 2 for the environment, 3 for the animals, 4 for food distribution, or 5 for food budgeting. I'm going to explain each and every benefit and how, and hopefully you can find a purpose of one of them that you resonate with the most. Why that one captures your attention and hopefully maybe inspire you to try out this lifestyle. Okay, so how it affects your health. So there are many benefits to a vegan diet when it comes to health. A lot of people do see this more so of a diet than anything else. And the number one reason that people would join or participate in a vegan diet is because they want to lose some excess fat. You lose excess fat when you're going vegan because you give up a lot of foods that have saturated fats along with sugars such as lactose that is in dairy and dairy products like milk, cheese, and ice cream. Vegan diets have a natural tendency to reduce your calorie intake because a lot of vegan food is low in calories, so automatically your body starts consuming less calories than before, but you're still eating a lot because you're consuming a lot of vegetables, grains, fruits, and a lot more carbs, but all the carbs you're intaking tend to be very low in calorie. So your body naturally starts going into a caloric deficit without really trying. This makes it effective at promoting weight loss without needing to actively focus on cutting calories, reducing carbs, or going crazy on cardio. The second reason of how veganism affects your health would be that it is a diet that is richer in nutrients. Given that the diet before, such as a Western diet, is most likely built up of junk food or fast food or just the regular Americanized diet of meat, poultry, eggs, fish, and processed sugars and processed foods. The second reason and how it affects your health is that this diet is richer in nutrients. So when you go from a diet that is more westernized and contains a lot of meat, dairy, eggs, poultry, fish, along with processed sugars and processed foods, then it is obvious that you become a lot more restricted from the foods that you're eating. So it would inevitably lead you to rely more heavily on other foods. In the case of a whole foods, plant-based vegan diet, replacements take the form of whole grains, fruits, vegetables, beans, peas, nuts, and seeds. Since these foods make up a larger proportion of a vegan diet than a typical Western diet, they contribute to a daily intake of beneficial nutrients. So when you go from a diet that doesn't really provide you more nutrients, but it does provide more saturated fats and more calories, then to a diet where, yes, you cut off a lot of things and you restrict yourself from a lot of foods, but you also start consuming foods that have more nutrients in them. Therefore, the meals that you intake become a lot more nutrient dense. For instance, several studies have reported that vegan diets tend to provide more fiber, antioxidants, and beneficial plant compounds. They also appear to be richer in potassium, magnesium, folate, vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin E. However, like any other diet, you can decrease your nutrient intake if you are just eating a bunch of vegan junk food, and poorly planned vegan diets often provide insufficient amounts of essential fatty acids such as omega-3s or omega-6, vitamin B12 if you're not supplementing or eating plant-based options that are high in vitamin B12, iron if you're not consuming enough legumes or other plant-based foods such as cacao that are high in iron, calcium if you're not consuming plant-based milks, tofu, broccoli, spinach, iodine, which is mostly like a seaweed extract that you can get naturally, or from salt that has iodine in it, and zinc. That's why it's important to stay away from nutrient-poor food, such as fast food vegan options. Instead, it is a better idea to base your diet around whole foods and fortified foods. You may also want to consider the supplements of B12 and D3 because regardless if you're vegan or not, most people, no matter what diet you're on, lack these vitamins just because they're very difficult to obtain just by eating. So B12 is normally in the soil that we grow our plants from, but since there's so much processing and washing during farming, then that vitamin becomes it becomes very difficult to get because we're just washing it off all the fruits and all the vegetables. So it is important to supplement it, as the same for vitamin D3. Vitamin D3 is a vitamin that you get from the sun. You know, if you stand in the sun for 20 minutes, visible skin, then you'll most likely get your daily intake of vitamin D3. But of course, that would be 20 minutes of your day, and not everyone can do that. So it's very beneficial to just supplement these so that you don't have a problem, one, with having energy, brain function, or any other problems that you may have if you don't consume these vitamins. The third reason on how it affects your health is that it reduces risk of chronic diseases such as diabetes. Vegans tend to have lower blood sugar levels, higher insulin sensitivity, and up to 50 to 78% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Studies even report that vegan diets lower blood sugars in diabetics more than diets from the American Diabetes Association, American Heart Association, and National Cholesterol Education Program. For example, in one study, 43% of participants followed a vegan diet were able to reduce their dosage of blood sugar lowering medication compared to only 26% of the group that followed an ADA recommended diet, and may help further medical issues from developing, such as possible cancers or certain cancers, strokes, heart attacks, and arthritis. The fourth reason that veganism affects your health is immunity. So immunity builds up. A vegan diet contains a lot of fruit, which are filled with different antioxidants, an important one being vitamin C, which helps the white blood cells attack foreign pathogens, therefore building up your immunity and allowing you to not get sick or not get as sick as you would from any other diet that is low in vitamin C. The fifth way that veganism affects your health is improved digestive health. So when you're on a vegan diet, your fiber intake actually increases a lot, and the fiber that you intake helps increase the size of stool, making your bowel movements move more than once a day, which means the body will have more energy to do other things rather than just digesting. This is why often people who eat a meal that is full of saturated fats, meat, dairy, tend to feel sleepy after eating because their body is taking a lot of energy to digest the food, because these foods are difficult on the body to digest. Whereas if you have a vegan meal, foods that are plant-based, such as vegetables or fruits, take up to 30 minutes to an hour to digest, whereas vegan foods take up to maybe an hour or 2 hours to digest. It really depends, but it's a great way to get your bowels moving and for people who already struggle with digestive issues. The second reason is environmental benefits. So if you're an environmentalist, going vegan would be a great way to help improve the environment. And here are some ways that a vegan diet can help the health of the earth. So number one being that a vegan diet cuts greenhouse emissions. Meat production requires vast amounts of energy, and not only do you have to grow the crops to feed the animals, but fossil fuels are also burnt in the raising, slaughtering, and transportation of animals. In fact, livestock and byproducts account for 51% of the annual worldwide greenhouse gas emission. Someone who chooses to eat meat, your contributions to the house emissions are 2 times higher than someone who is on a plant-based diet. The second important reason would be preserve habitats and species. So producing meat requires large amounts of land to raise animals. Every second an area of rainforest equivalent to a football field is cleared of rear and graze animals. It is estimated that 1 pound of beef is equivalent to 200 square feet of destroyed rainforest. Overall, it's estimated that eating meat requires 3 times more land as needed for a vegan diet. The third reason is to conserve water. Food choices can have a big impact on water demand. So, unlike the majority of plant-based foods, raising animals requires a vast amount of water. And it's because animals need water to drink, wash, clean their living spaces, and to cool themselves during hot periods. In fact, some study compared the water footprint of different foods found realized a soy burger has a water footprint of 158 liters, and a beef burger has a water footprint of 2,350 liters, which is over 14 times as big. The productivity in plant-based foods is a more efficient use of our resources, as well as it takes less energy from fossil fuels and less land. By removing animal products from our diet, we can play a part in reducing humanity's damage to our environment. And then we have food distribution. So a vegan diet can help the world's food distribution of food by decreasing the amount of food, such as soy and grains, that are fed to livestock and other animals, and be able to give that food to people who are malnourished or starving, or people who are homeless without any meals. Researchers at the University of Minnesota Institute on the Environment determined that 36% of the calories in crops are being fed to farmed animals when cattle are killed and turned into food. So only 12% of those calories make their way to the human diet as meat. That's 2/3 of a dropping number in calories that would have been available to humans if the grains had been consumed directly by humans in the first place. It takes about 13 pounds of grain to produce a single pound of meat. All the grain would go a long way towards feeding hundreds of millions of people, many of them children who don't have enough to eat. In fact, malnourishment currently affects about 870 million people worldwide, and accounts for the deaths of more than 5 million children under the age of 5 alone every year. I think this is the third slide, is of course the animals. So a lot of people go vegan because of they choose not to promote violence with any other life form. Animals are often exploited in the fashion industry, the makeup industry, and of course, animals slaughtering. Mink farms are often developed where they raise mink and they kill mink in order to produce mink lashes, which are very popular now, especially in the beauty industry. They're known to be liked for their long volume length that they have. There's also a lot of fox mink lashes that people can buy, which are almost exactly the same. Yes, it's not real fur, but at least that's the best choice. Testing makeup on certain animals such as rabbits. A lot of the times they use rabbits to test certain makeups before they sell it to human consumers, leaving them blind, deaf, or even worst case scenarios, dead all alone. And lastly, fashion brands. A lot of people know this, that most celebrities use real fur to promote themselves on fashion shows or for their brands, or they use it to represent a certain brand. Instead of using these products, once again, they can use fox fur to represent their brand or create new, different fashions that they can be proud of. So now we're going to talk about finances. There have been a lot of arguments in veganism that it's more expensive than a normal diet that has a lot of animal products, but statistics show otherwise and prices speak for themselves. So right here I have a slide that shows the prices per pound of animal products and plant-based foods. So a sirloin steak is $6.80 and pasta is $1.45. Uncooked steak is $6.30 and the rice is 79 cents. Ground beef $3.38. Potatoes are 68 cents. Sliced bacon is $5.70. White bread is $1.35. And yes, these prices may not be completely accurate, but it is a great example to show that when you do go grocery shopping, a lot of the plant-based options are often cheaper than the animal products. And here are some of the things that I think that people do not go vegan and why they don't want to try it out. So the first concern of veganism I have is protein. So people often ask about how one can achieve efficient amount of protein while on a plant-based diet, because a lot of these foods, once you switch over from a non-vegan diet to a vegan diet, your protein intake kind of lowers a bit because you're not consuming big pounds of like meat that have a lot of protein, because these animals, like, that's all they do all day is eat other foods, but actually the food that they eat is like soy, wheat, and most of these animals are like herbivores, so the protein that we're intaking from them is actually like all plant-based. So why not skip the part of eating the animal and just go straight to the source that they eat their veggies and get their nutrients from, right? So these products are high in protein, which are soy, gluten, beans, lentils, and even most fruits and vegetables. Right here I have a picture of a comparison of a piece of beef, which is 6.4 grams of protein per 100 calories. And this is a piece of broccoli, which is 11.1 grams of protein per 100 calories. So these are the same calories, but broccoli tends to have higher grams of protein than the beef. And, if you eat a lot of broccoli, you also consume a lot of fiber, making you fuller. So overall, you're getting full, you're getting your protein in, and you're also leaning out because broccolis are like very low in calorie. It says, plants have all the protein you need with none of the violence. That being said, you can gain a lot of protein from eating a plant-based diet. You just need to make sure you're eating enough of these high protein foods. Another major concern with veganism is vitamin B12. B12 is a crucial B vitamin that supports brain function, nerve tissue health, and the production of red blood cells. So if one doesn't consume B12 over a certain amount of time, they become very fatigued, their focus isn't as good, their body starts aching, their workouts aren't as great, as efficient as they could be. So It is important for anyone who is vegan or not vegan to take this supplement because, like I said before, it is a very difficult vitamin to obtain through just eating foods. Like, animals do have a high intake of B12 only because they are eating the soil, which contains the natural form of B12, and they're ingesting it. So when we eat meat, we get B12. But that can be skipped too by just supplementing B12 with plant-based options that are high in B12, or again, supplementing it with a B12 spray, a B12 pill, or a multivitamin. So right here in this little chart, it says vegans have the highest B12 levels. That being said, it's just because in this study, it says that the vegans had a higher rate of B12 due to the variation of fruit and veggies on their diet. So both vegans and non-vegans can be deficient, of course, when it comes to B12, like I've said before. But this is just like a study to show that even if you go vegan, that you won't be completely deficient in B12. Like, you'll actually probably even gain more of it just because you're trying out new foods that may possibly have a lot more B12 than the food you were eating before. You won't get enough of on a vegan diet and will eventually lead to anemia is iron. Iron is often in the plant-based foods that are known as cacao, which is the highest form of iron in a plant-based food, beans, brown rice, lentils, broccoli, and spinach, and many other options. That's just to name a few. But iron levels can significantly increase on a vegan diet effortlessly because there are more cases of people who are eating animal products and being anemic than those who are vegan. And that is from actual studies as well. And the last concern I will mention is the allergen concern. So if you are someone who wants to go vegan but is allergic to soy, wheat, nuts, or gluten, it makes it, or if you have celiac disease, it makes it a very difficult diet to transition to, because that means you are already restricting yourself from a lot of foods to go vegan. And then when you're vegan, you have to restrict even more foods just so you don't get an allergen reaction. So people who have allergies, this can potentially partake in malnutrition, or it can be very dangerous to the person who may have had a eating disorder in the past, or may even develop one if they continue to try this out and they're not seeing the results they want, or they're not liking how they feel after they eat, or they're just genuinely not enjoying their meals. I would like to point out that unfortunately this diet wouldn't be for those people, and everyone's body is different. Everyone should eat what they think makes themselves feel good about themselves, no matter what. It doesn't matter what diet you are on. This whole thing is just to represent a new form of lifestyle that one who doesn't have to suffer with these consequences can try out if they want to. But of course, everyone's bodies are different, so no one is forcing veganism upon them or a plant-based lifestyle upon them. It is clearly by choice, and it's clearly your choice to pick what you would want. It's more to show people who don't have these allergens to see if they would want to try it to benefit their mental or physical health. On this slide, it's going to be the vegan My Plate. So My Plate is a diagram that most nutritionists and dietitians use to distribute the macronutrients that a person needs to intake every day in order to develop a healthy diet or lifestyle, and to also gain all the nutrients that a person needs to have every day while we distribute our energy throughout the day. So the original plate on the right, on the right is fruits, vegetables being half the plate, and then protein and grains being the other half of the plate, and dairy. The protein is usually the meat, the fish, or whatever. And you can also use this one to just like distribute it into a vegan one, but they made one that was completely vegan. So this one's fruits, vegetables, legumes, and nuts being the protein option, and whole grains as well, keeping that. But notice how they say whole grains, so like eating a lot of brown rice, wheat bread, or gluten-free bread, or whatever they think that could contribute to this little corner. and they replace the dairy with water to make sure that within every meal that you have, you're also consuming enough water, because it's not often presented as much as drinking milk, you know. With all of the plant-based options, you'll still be getting a lot of the calcium that people are often concerned about when they're not drinking milk. So regardless, you'll be getting the nutrients you need without really trying, without just like, and it's a great outline for new people who want to try out veganism, because they can distribute and try it out themselves, or they can just use the same one and, like, you know, replace the protein with tofu or something and just make it their own thing. It's just really like an inspiration that people use in order to help themselves learn how to eat on their plate. I hope that throughout the presentation you have learned something new, or you are presented with information that you didn't know of before and you are inspired to try this out, or you want to inspire other people to try it out if you already know about this diet or if you're doing it. I just hope that it also inspires you to try a healthier diet, because overall the whole point of living is to live a healthy, long life, to experience more, to live more days, to see more things, take care of yourself mentally and physically. And I like to promote this through a vegan diet. So will encourage also like my future clients when I become a nutritionist or dietitian. And that's what I want my purpose to be. So thank you for listening.